Welcome to Desk Geek. Yes, there are two of me, and I'm sorry you have to deal with two of my ugly mugs. But here is the point. We have at the top the C920. Both are running at 1024 by 576 so that we could give them a fair test. Both are running at 30 frames per second, both of these cams. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably in the market for a webcam or you're thinking about upgrading. I upgraded thinking that this 930e was capable of 60 frames per second. Well, in fact, it's only capable of 30. You have to go to the 922X to get the 60 frames per second, and you're also going to have to pay a lot more for that. So, if you're looking for a new webcam, and perhaps these are the two that you've narrowed it down to for price reasons, let's take a look and see which one is better. Now, one of the things you may notice interesting right off the bat is this is low light situation. I've got the room lights off. There are no lights lighting this up. So you can see the 920 has a more natural tone to it. It's a little darker though. The 930e, well, it's a little blown out. And that's really going to be the theme for the 930e throughout, because even when I turn on a light, you're going to see that it kind of blows out the picture. And I think that's because of the right light technology. Now you can go in and adjust that if you want to, but I'm just showing you how these are natively. And I think the picture that you get out of the 920 is certainly a lot more natural. Now, with the 930e, keep in mind you're getting a much wider angle. You're getting that 90-degree angle there. Let's actually just take a look real quick at the specs. And what I'm going to do is take my pictures here off so that we can take a look at the specs. All right, so now that you've seen some of the video as it is standard, let's take a look at the differences between the 930e and the 920. Now with both of these, you're getting the full 1080p experience out there. And I'm going to pump up the 930e and the 920 so you can see it at its full resolution. You're both on these, you're getting the H.264 video compression, but on the 930e, if this is important to you, you get the SVC as well. Now, that's not been something that I've utilized at all, and I really don't know what it's for other than it's another type of kind of H.264 technology spinoff that I think uses a little bit less bits as it's streaming, or kind of a lossless technology. Now, on the 930e, this is your big difference here. You've got that 90-degree field of view. So when you could see in those pictures, you get a much wider view out there than the 78-degree field of view. Now, that may be important for somebody who has a lot of people in a room, which is probably why the 930e is marketed towards the business crowd. So if you were sitting around a big desk, that field of view is kind of important. If you're doing videos like me or you're live streaming, that wide field of view is probably more annoying than it is helpful, and not something you necessarily care about. The Logitech 930e has a 4x zoom in 1080p, and I did not see that option listed in the specs for the 920. So you have a lot more zoom capabilities with the 930e. That right light technology, I think, is what blows everything out, and you'd have to manually go in there and adjust that. And of course, that's a little bit of a problem if you're running Linux and you don't have those drivers, Logitech drivers there, or you're using software outside of Logitech software, which most people would, to do some of that adjusting. Now you've got the Zeiss lens certified lens on the 930e and just HD glass. Both have the pan, tilt, and zoom. The external privacy shutter comes with the 930e, so you can just snap that piece of plastic on, but it also fits on the 920, and you can buy that separately, so not a big deal. Now, the other big difference that I highlighted here is the built-in dual stereo mics, so you can hear the difference between the ones on the 930e and 920, and I'm going to play two sound clips here, and I'm going to start with the 930, and then I'm going to end with the 920 clip, so take a listen so you can hear how the mics will sound. The early bird might get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. I'm not clumsy, the floor just hates me. The table and chairs are bullies, and the walls get in my way. People say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing every day. I am on a seafood diet. I see food, and I eat it. So overall, not bad. Either one really isn't too bad. And I'm about 2 feet from the webcams. So you're getting a pretty good sound from both. Again, if you're just getting started in streaming or creating YouTube content, those mics will work just fine. Eventually, you're going to want to upgrade anyways. If you're doing conferences, business, and you're just going to use the mics in the cams, I don't think there's a distinctive enough difference to really say I would buy one or the other. But you can listen and make that decision for yourself. Both have the high speed USB 2.0 and 3.0. The Logitech 930 comes at $83.99 versus the $61.99 brand new for the C920. So you got $22 difference there between the two. And I think the 920, frankly, has a better picture. So what I'm going to do now is kind of show you these cameras with a much bigger resolution. So let's do the 920 first. All right, so now I'm zoomed in and you can see a big picture. This is 1920 by 1080 on the Logitech. Of course, it still says 1024 by 576 at the top. Just ignore that because I'm not changing the text there. But this is the full gamut, 1920 by 1080 in low light. Now let's add some light there, and you can see you've got more natural tones to my skin. You've got kind of darker colors in the background. But you can also see that blurriness kind of coming in and out of the zoom there. And because it tries to autofocus as you're moving along. But it does pretty well unless you're doing crazy things like that. So let's now do the same thing, but let's do it with the 930. And we're going to start with the lights off. Okay, so here is the 1920 by 1080 on the 930e. And you can see I have no light on here, but somehow I'm just completely blown out. It looks like I'm sick, or you could call me powder. It's very weird how it just blurs. And in fact, let me see if I can go into OBS here and actually edit some of these settings because it's so bad. So that's with the brightness turned off. Now you can see, I guess in a low light situation, it's got a brighter picture to it, but it's just so bright it's blown out. Let's look at with the light on. And with the light on, it just looks like the sun's almost on me. Then it starts to naturalize, so it's focusing a lot better. So in low light, it's going to give you that blowout. And when you have light shining on me, I've got a nice spotlight here. You can see the natural tones and things start to come back a little bit. But again, compared to the 920, I think you're just getting a much better deal on the 920 than you're getting for the 930. And you could save $22. That's brand new, by the way, price difference. If you go on eBay or a used site, you could get it much different. But I have another contender on the way. These are going for sale, and I'm getting the 922X. Namely because these only do 30 frames per second, but the 922X actually does 60 frames per second, which makes it much better when you're recording game footage. And if I'm doing game footage and my cam is only at 30 frames per second, like both of these options, and even though there's some tweaks and things you can do to try to get them to 60 frames per second, my understanding is they become unstable and there can be issues with that. But what you're going to find is if you're recording in your camera at 30 frames per second, you're recording your screen at 60 frames per second in OBS, that your webcam, your lip syncing and audio are going to be off. So you're going to be talking and your lips are going to keep moving and you're going to look like one of those terrible old foreign Japanese ninja films or something like, "I will kill you today," type of thing. And you don't want that. That's the most annoying thing in the world when you film the perfect video and that type of thing happens. So if you're doing The Office, any of these options work. That type of stuff is not critical to be at 60 frames per second. If you're doing streaming and you're on a budget, the 920 works great. Just record your gaming and everything at the 30 frames per second. If you want and you have some extra cash to spend, you can go up to $99 and you can get yourself the 922X, which I will have a review on soon. Listen, that's my review of these two cameras. I prefer the 920. Let me know in the comments below. Did I get a dud brand new 930e or something? Or is this thing it's just not as good as I thought it would be? In any case, let me know in the comments below if you've tried either of these. We're only 130 subscribers away from 2,500. I'm very excited about that. So please feel free to hit the subscribe button. And until next time, get out there and fill your brains.
Don't get subscribed. Does not like the video.